He became a monster because humanity didn't deserve the hero he was. A lone guardian of humanity who relies solely on his own strength is often misunderstood by others. After enduring a dark existence and being reborn, he embarks on a journey to transform into an emotionless creature, without blood or tears. A veteran hero sought to obtain the INR. After a long day of work, everyone in the bar was patiently waiting for the broadcast to begin. The veteran was a regular at this establishment. He wasn't as profitable today as the others. But working his job, he had arrived just in time for the important event being broadcast. Worldwide, the Commonwealth was voting to punish or not the most famous in the world. Hero, the vote was over. It was only left to announce it. 325 votes for, 0 votes against, 0 abstentions, the decision was made. Unanimously, the President of the Parliament addressed the accused, code name Mask. The evidence is clear of them. Your atrocities against humanity, you are responsible for multiple massacres and execution of over 30,000 people in the upper ranks purge of our Commonwealth. At the same time, you also attacked people from other countries, destroyed trade relations between the two nations and caused a vicious food. The Supreme Council should have sentenced you to death, but it turns out that even with such crimes, this hero was useful for that. The people in power wanted to ensure that this asset would continue to be available for humanity just in case another alien invasion occurred. They prevented him from only obtaining 2 roles in their society, the Supreme Leader and the Supreme Martial Leader of the Commonwealth. He retained his current title of Special Hero, the only one that exists, but they placed unreasonable burdens. If ever their world was threatened, they would immediately return to the battlefield and fight for the striking contrast of circulating public opinions about the heroic figure known as Mask. On one hand, you have the elderly who understand the reality of the world. They knew that if it weren't for the special hero named Mask, no one on this planet would be here to have such a conversation. But because of this special hero, actions of raising other heroes around him across the world made it a safer place. And some people felt that the special hero was no longer needed for humanity's survival. But it seems that those who gained power because of this, the hero's actions had brainwashed the young populace to see things differently. The merit of the world's survival did not belong to all its members. Not the actions of a single man could be considered their reason why humanity survived, but a part of the population knew that the ordinary people of this world had given up hope of survival, and the heroes with extraordinary powers had failed against the invasion. But the man stood firm on the day known as Hell, and he alone stepped forward from it. Victorious day, but some in this world resented him for not surpassing the horrors of the art. He believed that he had only experienced the first wave of invasion and that humanity's future was still in danger, and worst of all, he hinted that some of the world's greatest heroes were in bed with them. Unnameable secret force that was there to destroy humanity. But you can't blame these individuals. They all wanted to live in peace and move beyond dark times and at the same time be part of it. The world population understood and believed in this special hero. He knew that humanity's survival was only by chance, and that he had to be ready for the day when the real enemies arrived in the corridors of the Commonwealth. The special code name of the hero Mask had the choice that he could keep his honor conferred him by humanity, for the world was grateful for his actions at that time. He should be grateful to humanity for doing this for him because after all, he was still a criminal. But the hero came to these senses. What was happening? Why was he here? He knew he was dead from treachery. Attack of the Woven Night Lord. Was this a flashback of his previous life? He had been judged and betrayed by his companions at the same place when an unknown force gave him a choice. To become a hero, it couldn't be if he were given a second chance. A system appeared informing him of the choices he had made in his initial mission. Rebuild humanity and form an alliance that would have the power to defend against any existential crisis. Humanity can face 2 branches to choose from. The mission rewards he would receive would be issued based on his branch choice, the hero's path. A new crisis appeared, although humans could not understand your behavior, but as a hero, you always choose to do so. Protect humanity in the dark branch of them. The monster's path. A new crisis appeared. Stupid. Humans cannot understand your behavior. But saving humanity has nothing to do with humanity, and since humans would kill the hero then repenting. The darkness is the actions of a monster without bloodshed and useless that the system informs him that in 20 minutes, he would be randomly sent to an environment of level F. Who would have thought I would be reborn again and find himself at the crossroads of this historic turning point this time? I will choose the monstrous path. That the president of the parliament was increasingly annoyed by the hero's silence, that he understood that the special hero was an incomprehensible existence in this world, that he had no emotion or policy. Wisdom, even in such a situation, he ignored the thoughts and feelings of the peoples of the world. He mentally admitted that the Commonwealth had actively worked to ruin the prestige of the special hero. The eyes of society leading to the understanding that he was just a relic of the past that was the best. Buried and forgotten, he was just a burden that prevented humanity from a better future. The purpose of this trial was to exile him in every way from society. From this day on, he will become a harmless reminder of days gone by, and if the hero did not agree, it would prove his point of view that he was a relic determined to hold power for his own good. All members of Congress knew that he had fallen into their carefully orchestrated traps. The hero decided it was time to move beyond this and start without new life. I object. The crowd that just a second ago was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop burst into conversation. The president was ready for this. People watching at home knew this would be the result, and that this psychopath would not give up. Power is allowing the rest of us to move on. The world has sacrificed so much for him that it was time for him to pay for his crime. That the world watched as their savior abandoned his special hero title. Everyone was shocked that this is not what he was supposed to do. What did you say? I said I was giving up my title. Special hero. The hero was tired of protecting humanity and being blamed for all his efforts. The president of the parliament unleashed, but none of it really mattered to the hero as he walked away. He mentally admitted that the Commonwealth had actively worked to ruin the prestige of the special hero. The eyes of society leading to the understanding that he was just a relic of the past that was the best. Buried and forgotten, he was just a burden that prevented humanity from a better future. The purpose of this trial was to exile him in every way from society. From this day on, he will become a harmless reminder of days gone by, and if the hero did not agree, it would prove his point of view that he was a relic determined to hold power for his own good. All members of Congress knew that he had fallen into their carefully orchestrated traps. The hero decided it was time to move beyond this and start without new life. I object. The crowd that just a second ago was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop burst into conversation. The president was ready for this. People watching at home knew this would be the result, and that this psychopath would not give up. Power is allowing the rest of us to move on. The world has sacrificed so much for him that it was time for him to pay for his crime. That the world watched as their savior abandoned his special hero title. Everyone was shocked that this is not what he was supposed to do. What did you say? I said I was giving up my title. Special hero. The hero was tired of protecting humanity and being blamed for all his efforts. The president of the parliament unleashed, but none of it really mattered to the hero as he walked away. He explained that he had no issue with their decision. He was more relaxed than he had ever been. This was not in the president's calculations as the silent hero who supported humanity. He was supposed to simply bend the knee and accept this punishment. He feared the hero would become their greatest enemy. He had to act quickly. He had a plan to use their attention. The world to force the hero to give up his power. Since the hero had given up his title, that power belonged to the world back in the bar. Viewers were intrigued by the sudden change of events. Those who understood what was happening explained the situation to others. They wondered how this was even possible. As the hero was the highest rank in the world, how could the president force someone who was 4 ranks higher than his current rank of 9 to do anything against their will? No one on this planet was above the 10th rank. And no one believed that would ever change. Even in the future, the president explained that the mask was where it was because the people of this world had poured their resources into him. They could not in any way simply walk away with them. Heart and soul of the world, that would be a wave for all living. So for him to leave, he would have to give up the power that did not belong to him. The power radiated by the Savior's body put everyone on edge worldwide. But surprisingly, the hero agreed to give up everything. He raised his arm in the air and released his energy, forcing everyone in the room to bow down to those who were not strong enough to resist. Such power demanded help. It took all the president's energy from Ren to avoid being forced to step down. By a force so powerful, if the leaders of this world wanted his power, then they would give it all back to them. The power radiated from his hand shot straight into the air. It burst through the ceiling and into the unsuspecting people in the open sky who were not watching the broadcast. Were shocked by what they saw. Some believed that another king-class monster had descended on this planet. The Savior was so powerful that the energy beams shot into the sky triggered lightning throughout the city. There was a strong chance that the majority of the parliament would perish before all his powers were exhausted. Slowly, the blue beam began to flicker to become a stream of its once great. The president deployed all his energy to endure the 10 minutes it took for the atrocious power to cease, but now he was the strongest person in the room. That the great hero was now nothing more than an ordinary human. All the fear he once felt had evaporated, and a mischievous smile crossed his lips. The hero had no issue with his actions. His power did not define him. He turned around and continued his journey to his new life. He put his mask on his shoulder. The president thought that the day would soon come when the hero would no longer walk on this earth. The hero vanished from sight as he walked through the doors of the parliament building. The president was in shock. There was no way he could teleport after releasing all his power. Random teleportation was activated. Choose a secret nest of level 4 sea spiders spider hatching. The portal cast a blue hue on the walls of the secret room as steel-cut squats passed through. As their boss explained their mission for today, all their members were above level 2. Which means they would have no problem easily dispatching the trash monsters. The final boss were level 3 sets. He would be able to take it out. The boss wondered if any of his members were afraid of spiders as he looked towards the 2 women in his group. He was not pleased with him looking down on them. The other members were ready to hit the road and wanted their captain to stop messing around. The sooner they would get out of here, the sooner he would find out the outcome of the trial of the codename Mask of the Great Hero. He was taking advantage of a situation that this secret realm was only available because everyone was intrigued by what was happening in the real world, where they had played enough that it was time to get serious. We must work together and plunder the entire secret realm as quickly as possible. Yes, Captain. They all looked back as someone crossed through the portal. A hero on a new journey in life took a step forward. The group knew there was something wrong with this individual, who would enter a secret realm without any equipment. Our protagonist was experiencing things he had not known in a lifetime. He had forgotten what it was like to enter a low-level secret realm. Feeling of nostalgia radiated from him that he had not gone to this place since he woke up all those years. A few years ago, he was used to the secret realm at a whole different level. If he did not defeat them in time, he would turn into a realm where eternal demons would appear. That these places were so dangerous that normal monsters were afraid to enter. If you were lucky enough to survive long enough for the boss to appear, you would be facing an unnameable demon god that the system had decided to send him here, after he had given up all his power and returned to human status level 1. Normal alignment, no monster status. Indecisive monster component, none. He was unsure if this choice was wise, but he knew that in his last life, the hero's path was a waste of time. He was not sure if it was right for him to be eager to become a cold-blooded monster. The group leader approached him as politely as he could, ask why he was unarmed. But the protagonist explained that his fist was the only weapon he needed. The captain patted his arm, believing he was a martial artist, but he wasn't completely convinced by that. He wanted to know what level of professional he was. For someone to come into a secret realm looking so confident, this individual had to be at the same level as me. The captain feared that if that were the case, he would take a significant portion of their loot. But they were all shocked when the words left the lips of the young man standing before them. You cannot joke. Being little brother here as a professional level can only mean your death. The captain was relieved inside. He was afraid he would lose a lot of money today. The protagonist slipped out of the captain's grasp by loudly stating he was there to crush monster. The people around him felt sorry for the young man. There was no way he would even be able to beat their level 200 healer talking about crush monsters. Thinking of his safety, they advised him to stay in this room when he was done with the secret kingdom, that he could safely leave from here. He tried to reassure them that he would not cause them any trouble. The chief warned him that since he was looking for trouble, he should not expect him to save his life. When danger met him face to face as he headed towards their youngest females. Looking back, not satisfied with how his group had handled this interaction, the group made their way up Spider Cave. The elder females shot deadly fireballs at the spiders while the archer took a crack. Able to cover his captain's back from afar, the throw as the captain combat. Close combat, as if they had been fighting together for years while the former hero stood back. Leah watched the group's healer work, approached and apologized for her group's actions. She really wanted this stranger to know that the captain was a good guy and was only looking out for his best interest. She wanted to make sure he understood that if he wasn't careful in this place, it would consume him. He explained that things were so different nowadays than when he was doing raids. People were scientists. Much more progressive and cautious. He guessed the lessons learned in blood by his generation had been passed on to the younger generation. She was surprised he spoke like those pitiful people in the Commonwealth, but she agreed with him that the policies the hero's mask had put in place were for the betterment of all humanity. His actions had strengthened the training of professionals and had fostered cooperation among them for their mutual improvement. The mortality rate had really dropped due to the hero's actions, which allowed the professional population to expand among the human race, in which the young healer had gotten lost conversation and had forgotten to introduce himself. Her name was Yen Sitsi, and she was a healer level. Delighted to meet you. I am Shuchi, a level 1 professional. I have not yet chosen my career path. She was shocked by his admission. He explained he was still thinking about it in his past life. It was he who created all the paths that humans followed, but all those choices to move forward were still a mystery. She reviewed her possibilities out loud, that she knew very certainly with his physique that he would never be cut out for short-range DPS. She thought he should focus in the casting area. When he gave her a troubling look, she realized that maybe she was a bit too talkative for a stranger. He grabbed her arm to pull her out of the path of an attacking monster. His teammates wouldn't make it in time, so he tore off the spider's leg and used it to stab through the eye. In one smooth motion, the spider collapsed to the ground as the healer came to cling to its body. The others were shocked to see how the martial artist was capable, but the throw explained that he had never seen a martial artist do such things. He just crushed the spider's most vulnerable point, and in one smooth motion pushed through its orbit. Only someone who clearly understood a monster's structure and had a great understanding of their own body was capable that the danger had passed. It's normal for you to let me go. She was totally embarrassed as she backed away from him. He was relieved to find out that choosing the path of the monster was very similar to the hero's path, that a single murder had earned him 500 experience points. He now knew he would be able to level up easily by killing monsters in his past life. That's why he became a high-level professional. With the combat experience he gained in his last life, he would be able to do it even faster this time. The captain apologized for misjudging Chow. He expressed his gratitude for saving Yan's life and offering him an equal share of their loot at the end of the hour. Xiao Mission explained that there was no need for such a gesture, it was just about helping each other in the secret realms. The Captain News show handed it back to its place as the group advanced. Everyone fought together to finish the mission in no time. They had reached Boss A. Their plan would remain the same. The captain would be the tank with the mage responsible. Ensure to burn the spider webs throughout the battle, the rest would be basic damage dealers. The group had progressed so quickly that if they were lucky, they would arrive in time for the end of the trial. The throw was mocking the hunger. They knew the outcome that the hypocrite had. Mask would be found guilty. I'm just curious what he looks like. Nobody had any idea who the mask really was. The group continued to chat about the mask until it upset you and the healer. She was totally in the mess corner, and intimately knew the incident everyone called the mask massacre. She knew the mask had done his best in the circumstances he had been placed in. She teased him, and sure you're not one of those paid actors you see on the internet that their captain insisted they were. Putting themselves in an embarrassing situation in front of the company, they all turned to the challenge to be overcome. The environment was covered in spider webs. Some group members were more interested in valuable goods while others were focused on the treasure chest left behind. Prepare here through the boss. The spider let out a cry of anger as the captain rushed to make a big hit. They collided as others dealt damage. The dealers searched for openings. Chow was surprised to see how unintelligent the boss at this level was. With luck, he would put an end to it soon. The mage kept the spider webs under control while the archer kept it at bay. The healer kept the captain alive with all she had. The boss was not standing chance against their dying teamwork. In a short time, everyone will get their equal share of the reward minus the cut of little brother. Jao Chow didn't understand why he kept referring to this place as a level 3 secret realm, while his system clearly indicated it was a level 4 secret realm. The group realized something was off. The treasure chest hadn't appeared. A mysterious figure approached them from the darkest corner of the cave, a girl in a school uniform. Her head was covered with an astronaut helmet that the real boss had shown to his face. She gave no sign of being worth their time, so the throw decided on them. Finish this quickly. The astronaut girl possessed a trebuchet forward, her toes gripping the ground as she ran. The throw did not prepare. No one believed such a direct attack would land. Crates would be time. He stabbed her through her, spread pink fluids everywhere in the place where his spear pierced the other. Everyone was impressed by the sight, and with that, he went for a murder. But to his great surprise, spider webs emerged from the hole he had left in her chest. They surged at him, binding his arms. As he struggled to free himself without blinking his eyes, she snapped her arms. There was no way he could cut through this silk. The captain ordered the mages to burn it. The archer sprinted forward to save his teammate from the flames, but as he approached, the flames raged out of control. It was as if the boss was fanning the flames. As the flames cleared, all eyes met a horrific sight. The astronaut girl had gone from 2 legs to an 8-legged monster. Chow was the only one among them where shock was not the prominent feature on their face. The throw turned desperately, trying to escape, but he was severely hindered by the silk wrapped around his body. With barely any effort, the 8-legged monster passed its lovely foot into his chest. The throw stood there watching the foot, knowing his life was over. The archer was furious, but Chow grabbed his forearm to calm him down. Don't act rashly. If you pursue such a beast, you'll be next. As the archer turned to give him a piece of his mind, his captain explained the wisdom in the words that had just been said to him, that they had been pushed so quickly towards the boss that they had 3 full hours before they could escape. The new plan was to make a tactical retreat. He would fight the boss while slowly moving back up. Then he would immediately escape once the portal opened. The 8-legged monster decided to go on the offensive. This time the captain was her target. Her silk shot from her exposed wound and wrapped around his forearm. The archer instantly released a volley of arrows, but in a second she had completely enveloped him and defenseless. The captive captain shouted his name as the archer was sucked towards the monster. As she approached, her teeth emerged and the hole widened. It was a horrific sight as the monster ate her head and fell. The body to the ground sent the captain into a rage as he charged and took a green swing. The boss monster, she countered his blow with nothing more than one of her legs. The captain was confused. There was no way a level 4 monster could counter a level 3 swordsman. Attack. As the spider wrapped around the protagonist, Shao came to the captain offering his help. Give me your sword, the only way to live now. And if I cut off your arm, if you want to live, give me your sword. It took the captain just a fraction of a second to accept this decision. He threw his sword at Shao, who descended with a strike that removed the captain's arm up to the elbow. The pain was excruciating, but he wanted to live. They both retreated to safety, as the healer rushed to seal the wound that the mage had chosen this time to lose her head. She fled in panic, screaming, "I don't want to die in a place like this." Yan asked Chow why he wasn't running. Hugo's siren nuke and Trinoe let him go on purpose. The thrill of the chase was like candy for a boss like that, who was better known as God chose to feed on their negative emotions of humans. Delicate dishes such as fear, jealousy, resentment were treats like no other for such a boss. Been confused by the outgoing words from Xiao. God chose been monsters chosen by the outer god of the void. If a monster was chosen, it would gain terrifying growth, speed and power, and have a bizarre appearance in the eyes of a human. God had nothing special to shout that he had killed them countless times in the first secret realm he had ever had. Entered when he had little or no power, had been assigned a monster chosen by God. For some reason fate had bad taste when it came to him. The eight-legged monster began releasing a purple miasma into the air. The healer cast a repelling spell against the poison on the group. The mage was instantly supported by the E. Nietzsche realized that the purple was spiritual energy, and not a toxic gas. It was the perfect opportunity for Xiao. Now that everyone was unconscious, he could reveal his true power. The boss monster was surprised when something that was supposed to be its food appeared out of nowhere next to her. Although he had lost all his power, his mind and soul were still at level 14. The spiritual presence of Boss Frick came out of nowhere near his. The pink miasmas triggered the system. Given Xiao a new ability, he let the spider know that thanks to his attack, he knocked out the normal human. He was able to use his abilities and fight it on equal terms. A simple being chosen by God should feel proud to witness his existence, as the monster tried to imbue her spiritual presence. That the monster once known as the special hero exploded towards the monster by slicing one of its legs as he went. Other than being thrown a really good leg, she tried to capture him by sending silk in all directions, but such a simple move had no chance of landing on him. He realized that maybe his expectations for this chosen of God were too high. She was only level 4 after all. But it was not his problem. So he continued his attack by sprinting along the wall. As he reached her, he threw a barrage at her, which removed all her legs, except one. As he tossed all her legs away, he decided it was time to finish this. It seems you're left with just one leg, so let's end with that. As she tried to crawl away, he decided to relieve her of this legless luxury at his disposal. She did her best to crawl away, her hands stopping mid-movement as the monster walked in front. And when you played with humans, you didn't think it would be your turn soon. He put his foot on her head, wrapping up this pathetic level 4 fight. Secret real mother spider at Chernus dreams to finish mission reward issued. The spider foot should be a spider leg. The survivors will be automatically transported out of the secret room. People went about their normal business as expected. From a large metropolitan city, Vienne was walking around in a daze that she had. It had been over 2 hours since she had been teleported out of that infernal trap of a secret realm that their captain had been. Rushed to the hospital, she and the mage were able to leave of their own free will. She had no idea if Xiao had made it out alive, but of whom the thought he was standing right in front and the press to victory. Xiao had been teleported to today's city. During he currently had a major problem. He was so powerful in his last life that money was not something he dealt with. Meaning he was flat broke by the time he was looking to rent a room, but he couldn't afford their cheapest unit. There were many things about society they simply didn't understand. He would struggle to survive alone in this society. Luckily for him, he had made an impressive leap on a particular healer. He wasn't used to his name being called, but he raised his eyes. Finally, the secret room healer was there. She didn't appreciate that he didn't know her name, and called her this healer. She explained her name to him, that he would never forget. Above all, she was relieved that he was still alive. The best thing about her was that she was quick on the uptake. She owed him her life for him to be staying with her from now on. She explained the history of her town as he walked with her. It dates back only 40 years. It was created after the disaster. The rapid development and urbanization of the original town had turned it into an urban village. They arrived at her place by the time she finished with her story. She explained that he wouldn't have to worry about that. She bothered him that he had his own separate room, the medal next to her entrance taken. Jehoazai and her father had received it after the great disaster. He was a hero and a soldier. He was much stronger than just a level 2 professional like her. He was a level 5 melee professional who had been in many battles. He loved to tell stories about the time he spent fighting side by side with the mask. They were so close. Not only did they camp together, but he also ate food from the same pot. She didn't know if the stories were true or not. The stories had been recited in her family since she was a little girl. She knew they were probably lies. Her father was a drunk who loved indulging in wordplay. None of this sounded like the mask. The world knew. She explained to Xiao that her father had passed away. He had suffered a lot from the time he spent at war. While his body was healed, his soul would never bounce back. And he died shortly after being released from the army. Xiao inquired about his mother, and she explained that her mother died after giving birth to her sister. Dared you not give me such expression, everything in my past, and you can't see that I'm living fine, and showed him around her house. I'll buy you a quilt, but things like underwear and pajamas you'll have to provide for yourself. A place like this wasn't what he expected. As soon as he started making money, he made sure to pay his rent. A little girl in a wheelchair unrolled. She was not happy to have an intruder in her house. Her sister explained the situation and told him he would be staying with them from now on. Oh, big sister, you are so kind to bring people you just met into our humble abode. She turned and went back inside. Without another word, don't worry, she'll get used to you. She's just not too happy right now. The person she admires is unfairly judged in public today. Shell was shocked that he had so much. He truly believed that the whole world was against him. Yan's little sister scanned through the trash the internet was spewing about her hero. He's just a selfish bastard who threw all our precious resources away. There were still many dangerous things that were his responsibility to protect us, and he just chose to walk away. No one should believe that he just gave away his power. Look at how he teleported in the end. The little sister was furious with him. The things she left, as if the people of this world were blind. How could they lie to themselves about the reality of the world he lived in? This mask wasn't the one they relied on. Every human being should thank him for what he did for them. She went to work fighting the warriors from the other side of her keyboard. She didn't have time to be bothered by her sister's dinner sound. Her sister's guests, the only person I came there for, just got avoided by a civilizations. The two sat down for a simple dinner prepared by Ian that he was accustomed to eating all he could find, so it was definitely a delicacy at the time. He was truly a real hero. He sacrificed everything for the safety of humanity. The news continued to slander the reality of things that were happening. The world was determined not to be indebted to one man. Without the man, Earth, the sun still turns. Without the mask, humans can also move forward in glory, and the mask that truly flees these crimes. Chow, what do you think? Don't rush, you can eat as much as you want. Everyone believes him to be a criminal, so I guess he's just a criminal. Never shied away from an opportunity to defend the mask. She was upset that he was cold towards a great person. Someone was shouting obscenities from the front of her house. She explained that Keijiang investment was harassing her family. He threatened to burn the house down with them inside. She rushed outside to confront them. So we can finally see you face to face. You know you're a person hard to find. Hyena never misled them. She was always honest and to the point. She had no interest in selling out. The Asan family house knew too much about her personal situation and wasted no time in jumping on her. The tragedy that struck her and her team rather that day, one of the intruders was a professional, capable of playing mind games with his prey. He gave her 5 days before starting to harass them. Her family, they also turned down his offer from $3 million to $100,000 federal dollars. She would never sell her house. So no matter what, he relied on information that he knew she needed money to continue getting treatment for her little sister, and currently, her bank account only had $30,000. Chow had had enough of this and decided to make his presence known. The Ushabak intruder rushed to greet the one he believed to be her boyfriend. As he introduced himself, infiltrated Hyena so that he didn't shake the guy's hand. That he was a bad specializing in mental attacks, but it was too late. He fell into the trap. The douchebag rushed in expecting to break Jahu's mental state. He wouldn't be too hard on the boyfriend. He would just put him to sleep for a few months. But he realized something was wrong. He should have made it by now. He stopped and checked his surroundings. He realized he was in trouble. He needed to escape from this place immediately, but it was too late. A giant wave crashed and crushed him. He was completely submerged in the mental energy of hated. Something dark and evil loomed in the eye depth of this monster in the ocean. Turns out he was the one who didn't want to wake up from. Citizen can't understand what tactics the douchebag was trying to use. Chantal knows exactly what it must be. The smarter of the two subordinates held back. Her friend, he explained what was very evident. Do you believe you could remove someone who just eliminated our leader? Do you believe you're on the level of our leaders? They realized they were in the wrong place and needed to retreat immediately. The message is clear. We didn't expect you to be able to find someone to protect you so quickly, but let this be a warning to you. If you dare to attack our people, things won't go so easily next time. Did you put it in a Kamawi shell and know he forced his way? In my mental world, these are just the consequences of his action. How long have you endured the harassment? Shortly after my father's death, about 4 years. Years ago, at the time, we were financially stable, so they chose to use alarmist tactics. Every time I wasn't there, he would knock on the door and threaten my little sister. Fortunately, I became a level 2 healer and joined the captain's team. That alone kept them at bay for all this time. They didn't even wait a day before trying to attack us again. Why didn't the government help you? They were set up to provide preferential treatment to the families of soldiers who fought in the Great War? Chow realized that even though he had said his practices were in place, obviously he wasn't working. The simple answer to that is money. Why would he help us when it would be more beneficial to help the wealthy people there? Yan insisted that he was his guest. He shouldn't help with the dishes. He explained that it was the least he could do to show his gratitude. If she wanted to house and feed him, he would do everything he could to lighten her burdens. She explained that her debts to him continued to grow. Not only had he saved her life, but he had protected her home from dangerous individuals. What are your plans moving forward? Will you join a new team? I hope the captain wakes up, otherwise I will have no choice but to find a new reliable team. The reality of what's happening in the secret realms is not very good. Not only are the parties competing to win as much as they can from each secret realm, but there are rumors about parties stabbing their individual. The mask can't do much for us, normal people, even with its rule that people are forbidden to kill each other in the secret realms. Nothing has really stopped it from happening. She let him know that if she found a party, he would be the first one she recommended it to. Chow knew that no one would stand by a monster in battle and that the path he had chosen would be a solitary task. Night Dweller Level 4 Secret Realm Tasks. Description: this is not a difficult task, but unexpected benefits can come up. Raid 10 Secret Rhyme Test Requirement: erase the secret realm alone. So many preparations remaining. 12 hours. A portal opened inside them. A Gothic church, Xiao Xiao, stepped in ready to take care of business. Thanks to the system, he was able to enter a dungeon when he wanted, from where he wanted. This allowed him to bypass the official boat. He dated the dungeon to be European from the Middle Ages. He stopped in front of the 2 gargoyles and immediately followed that they were his enemies. They tore themselves from their perches ready to fight. Scarlet Glasses Level 3. When there's no enemy, they just look like statues, but when people pass by, they'll turn into a quality stone surface fierce beast, giving them high defense, also wandering their fangs. More dangerous, the stone glasses were a formidable enemy. Had a strong body that was not weak to magic, nor physical nor magical attacks. For them, the team/iron would have been annihilated immediately against such force. But Chow was ready for this battle. What a pity you have to meet me. Without even trying, he held their 2 heads in the palm of his hands. Such enemies were a waste of time. All the stained glass windows of the building lit up, and the army of glasses appeared. The army tore themselves from their moorings and took to the air. Chow decided to fight on their terms. He leaped into the air, kicking. Cut over time, the ground became littered with rocks until there was only one left. He held him by the L to look scared. I believe stone is not supposed to have feelings, and he tore him apart as if it were a piece of paper. The boss made his appearance. Leader Luckstone Status Level 4. Compared to the gargoyles, this one was different. A great deal of time was spent on creating it. One could say it was a statue extinguished. Will you dare crush it with your hands? What purpose does the demon with the body and appearance of a human serve? Such a look only makes me want to kill you even more. Die, your abomination. A group of 4 professionals made their way into the Gothic cathedral. But all they found was rubble. It makes no sense, this dungeon just appeared 12 hours ago. We are definitely the first team to enter. Our contact at the inspection office We made sure what was unreasonably strong was here before we came to look at this fragment. It's torn apart as if someone ripped it apart with bare hands. How is that even possible? Look over there, the professional pointed to a giant pillar in the Gothic church. The boss was exposed, pierced through the chest with his own spear. The boss at the Secret Realm Inspection Office was furious that no one had any idea what was going on. They had reports coming from the field that dungeons were being cleaned before anyone had a chance to reach them. At best, there was someone who was negligent. But the worst-case scenario was that someone down there had a man on the inside. The Secret Realm Inspection Office, they had to figure out how this team of individuals was escaping surveillance. From their surface division, an amateur might miss this for a good thing, but the reality was that it had the chance to go wrong. So while on the surface, it seemed like the Federation was safer with it. Nobody. But what if that unregistered person started setting up ambushes for the expedition teams as they showed up to clean the dungeons that the younger generation couldn't understand? The horrors of the secret realms before the creation of the inspection office. The number one cause of death was not the monsters. Greed and despair were widespread, and teams had to do their best to monitor. Above all, it was their responsibility to ensure the world didn't fall back into such a situation. Barbaric practice. The first reported infiltration was the level 4 Gargoyle's secret realm, and from the available evidence the intruder is level 4 but at most level 5. The evidence indicated it was a unique individual. The destruction of all remains lined up with this theory. This explained why there was so much waste left behind. One individual had no way of them processed the amount of materials and remains from so many dungeons so that the keel concentrates the hour attention. They would catch this culprit by following the money. The team received orders to closely monitor the market and watch for patterns that aligned with the loot from the 7 secret realms that were affected, and they had to report it immediately. This tactic likely wouldn't work. Chow didn't have much use for money. He didn't even care about receiving scammed on equipment sales. His main goal was to become stronger. But for now, he had enough money to prevent himself from being a burden to the compensation commission. His voice came to him as soon as he thought of her. He noticed her trying to sell a sword to a shady businessman. She just wasn't a very good salesperson. She explained that the blade had a history and had killed many monsters, but the seller used that to his advantage. He explained that was why he couldn't pay much for it, with all the scratches on the blade would break after a few uses. Its only value was as scrap, how the relic her father left behind being considered scrap. He hiked the price to 3,500 while implying it was only because she looked so pitiful. The sword's name, Flutter Crow. Her sister's medical bills came first, meaning she had to let go of the sword. It was going to be a big payday for the shady businessman. He knew an amateur when he saw that the sword she held was forged in blaze iron. The material was truly rare and in turn very valuable. He would be able to sell it for at least 10,000 pups. Intervened as the businessman pressured her to sell. The NCC was surprised to see Chow, but it made sense that he was here to conduct his own transactions. The shoot show system informed him that the equipment was a level 5 professional ability in the 2 category. Description of the special equipment. Although at first glance, it is only an old the blade contains rare special metal materials that few people knew about. Stained with the blood of a demon god, the question is whether a blessing or a curse comes. Will you sell me this? The soul wanting to sell. The seller was furious. He could feel this precious opportunity slipping away from him. He will pay for it right away. The seller knew it was over. The two are sitting on a bench holding their new items that Yan couldn't take as much from the man to whom she owed her life. Chow insisted that she had already repaid him for saving her life, and who owed him at least some money for allowing him to stay with her and cook such delicious meals for him. He insisted that she take the money for lodging expenses at the very least. In reality, he owed her much more money. For the blade, it wasn't as simple as she thought. He wouldn't be able to inform her from there. But the blade was worth much more than 10,000. It shocked her. This blade was just a relic from the past, but she expected it to hold many secrets. Already forming a small list of how he had left the spider dungeon before any of his team members had even woken up. How he had earned so much money in such a short time. but she wasn't the kind of person who, proud of other secrets, she asked him to kindly find Big. It was the last thing the siblings had to tie them to their raven father, flying like a raven freely back and forth hidden in the dark. The name was perfect. Anwen normally kept her emotions to herself, but she felt it was her responsibility to inform him of the history of the Fang theft. You know, the Great Ghost incident. It happened here in the city, where it shows the level of emerging AI from a secret realm. And rampaging through the city, either Armenia, professional heroes could stand in their presence. Such a monster that anyone who could fight took up arms. It's because of their sacrifice that we, ordinary people, were able to escape. My father was also killed in this incident. The only thing left of him was his flying Fang blade, the Great Ghost. Jaime, a horrible radiation that covered nearly half of the city and rendered everything it touched, from the clouds in the sky to the simple building materials that made up the foundation of the city. Ordinary people instantly became a pool of flesh and blood, and all those who were near the incident eventually died from radiation poisoning. You can say that Chanlu was one of the lucky ones. She was affected by the radiation and lost the use of her legs, but she survived. Others were not as. Thankfully, she was so talented with the sword. Her talent was so great that it allowed her to beat advanced swordsmen at her school with nothing more than a wooden practice sword. Her future was bright. We all believed that one day she would become even stronger than our father, but now we have to pay a high level professional to prevent the radiation from spreading. That's why I chose not to be a close combat specialist. Becoming a healer gave me a higher survival rate. I must be here for my sister. I can't risk my life carelessly. They had me transferred from the front line to take care of the Great Ghost incident. I obliterated it with one punch, but the ghost had wreaked havoc in the city all day. For over 10 hours, I didn't realize how much this monster had devastated the ordinary people involved in this incident. That's why I hate monsters so much. I was sure that after the Great Ghost incident, this mask had made arrangements for the federal government to allocate a large amount of funds to ensure the safety of every victim of the high disaster. The sister should have been reimbursed for her treatments. Was there such a thing all this time? Let's go home. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. If you thought my cooking was good, I will show you my true culinary skills tonight. As they left, passed by two members of the inspection office doing investigative work to unravel the trail that would lead them to him. If they only knew how close they were to the culprit at home. Chiando took a break from his battle with the keyboard warriors when the intruders began knocking on the door of his family. She knew it was the people from Kijiani, an investment company. Were not a coward even without her legs. She would protect her family's home. She geared up and headed into battle. As she reached the front door, the enemies forced their entry, and they were glad someone was there, even if it was the little Chang Lu. Attacked to defend her family's honor. McCain crashed to the ground. Having the mind alone wasn't enough. She lay on the ground looking up. With defiance, the leader taunted her state. He sent his men to search, destroy the house. We intended to give Chucho a lesson they wouldn't soon forget. Their search yielded nothing. The leader wanted to take her back with them, but his men insisted it was not a good idea, that kidnapping was a serious crime. Instead, they decided to take a different route. He ordered one of his men to stay with the truck, and he was to back him up when the other two arrived. This way, it would only be a minor accident caused by losing control of the truck, and it was a shame that the truck was filled with gifts picked up from the neighborhood garbage dump. It was really important to them both. Staying law-abiding citizens, both houses arrived soaked. A storm had broken out halfway through their journey. Hurry up, we're almost there. Yen was shocked to see her sister Chanlu lying on the ground. The doors had been ripped off their house as he helped her sit in her chair, as she explaining what happened. One day, they'll get what's coming to them. Chow, can you take her inside? I'm going to go work on the door. She turned towards the demolished door. Chow turned to see that a garbage truck had destroyed the entrance and thrown all its garbage at Yan's feet. She stood barely failing. Oh, I realized this was Madame Yan's house. How could I mistake this place for the dump? Well, at least it's raining. You can stay there and clean yourself without having to follow this mess into your house. Expect a lot more gifts from the Kajian company. Wanted to go to her sister's side. but Chow explained that it would only make things worse. Give her a minute to calm down. There was a past in front of them. There was a disturbing blue mist emanating from her body. Chow and Xianglu stood out in the rain. Can you tell me why it's like this? Tell me if there is justice in this world. In my experience, there never has been. What about in the future? Don't count on it. There must be at least fairness. No, this lie is just made up of injustice. Even the rain that falls on everyone is. Chow Unequal reached for his sword that falls on those who suffer like. Well, like the unjust, this world is unfair, just like the rain falling in an unfair world. Also unjust, Chanlu was devastated by the reality that faced her, you know at least. Your family's affairs are minor. I have no interest in the problems and injustices that you also live with. I should focus my energy on more important things, but it seems that problems always come from them. Anyway, what a pain in my ass, Mr. Chow, why are you leaving? I have trash to take out. Are you crazy that society is equivalent to there? He accused their boss, said to be at least level 5, and that doesn't take into account. Against the countless level 3 and 4 members they have, you just mentioned our family's problems online. I don't want to hurt you. You don't have to take family struggles on your shoulders. Yes, it's a real hassle. A total waste of time, but there is only one remedy for these types of problems, and it most certainly involves cracking skulls. Why follow so eager to use violence to eliminate my troubles? The storm continued to hit the city from the day. Forcing citizens to take refuge in the streets was deserted like a bully organization. The dishes. Xiao entered the frame as two well-dressed losers left their headquarters. He looked at the grand headquarters and realized he had his work cut out for him. He entered the building sword in hand, and was immediately noticed by security. It had been a while since he'd had a little fun with troublemakers. They approached him with smiles on their faces. Do you know where you are? How dare you carry a dancer weapon? Establishment. Chow ignored them if they minded their own business. He had continued to exploit his. As he proceeded to stop him, he continued his stride without missing a beat. But behind him, two puddles filled with pieces fell to the ground. Sacrificial blood blade mission. Description: this blade, which tasted much blood on the battlefield, was once again awakened, or maybe what was awakened was the blood of the demon god. The mission requirements: use End Crow for eliminate all hostile beings. Mission reward: Flying Crow will use the blood for an upgrade. Security of this short Magnan katana made their way to greet him. It is hostile. Everyone be cautious. The group encircles him, increasing their advantage of decision makers. Attacking first, they rushed to increase their momentum by not hitting any of their heads. Were still attached as their momentum took them beyond the shell. The third forced his aura into his blade. This led Chow to look at him with fury in his eyes. The next instance will remove that arm and intentionally plunge his blade into the man's side. The others saw this as their opening. As they charged at him, he released his blade and struck them through the chest. How is the weapons bearer so strong with their hand? Had been the last question he had never asked. Chow continued on his way. Since then, everyone headed in the opposite direction to the Yakuza aspirant members. Discussed the perfect topic at this moment, where the profits above all was their motto. If they succeeded in rearranging the sisters' property, they would all make a huge profit. A minion burst in to warn them that someone was killing their way to the tower. Give us the important details. How many people dare invade our headquarters? One individual. One person alone has a desire for suicide, but the leader was not so bold. He knew it. Their organization had done its best to avoid powerful individuals. How something had gone so wrong that they were in this situation. It was pointless that he had to face this problem, but it was time to get to work. He stood up, too lazy to lift his axe from the ground before he could get out of them. The room that Chow had made at their location. They were shocked that someone would do it. Killing a man begging for his life. As Chow Kate, the fear of landing ran down their spine at seeing him. The boss tried to choose the right words to prepare them for battle. A spectacle of warrior, mage, and gunman struck. Their combat breaks must be commented on the fact that they are level 4 professionals. And they believed that meant they understood what kind of situation they were in. They interrogated him on the reason why they were being there. Sir, it was him who mitigated in a coma. Chow wasn't stupid. He knew it was time to become a monstrous. Plunge the group into darkness, thinking he thinks that disabling the art, The lights will change everything. The gunman specialized in working in the dark. As he activated his night vision, it took a second for his brain to understand what stood before the monster.